Okay, so welcome to the Hong Kong Webfest 2013, the second Hangout, the international Hangout. And we have some really amazing guests here, content creators, and two festivals. Hopefully we will have two more along the way today. And let the speakers introduce themselves first. Darren? Can you talk a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name's Darren Chadwick-Hussein. I'm from London, England. I'm here representing the Raindance Film Festival, which is incorporating London Webfest, which is the Raindance Film Festival has been going 21 years. This is the first year that we're actually incorporating web series and new media into the film festival, and so yeah, we're actually sort of really quite excited by the whole thing. I also created a web series called The Bloody Mary Show. I'm the writer-producer of that. We're going into the second series right now. And it's also 4 AM in London, and I'm very tired.
Okay. Eric? Eric?
Yeah. Hi. I'm Eric Chu. It's okay to go ahead? Right. I'm Eric Chu, and I've started. You're making strange gestures at me. I'm best known for having worked on Battlestar Galactica. I was the concept designer on that show. But before that, I used to work in animation. So I came to Hong Kong several years ago trying to get some productions off the ground. So far, it looks like we are actually doing a feature film, I think, at the end of this year. It's not animation, but I guess you just kind of roll with the punches. And although my background is in animation, our upcoming project in Hong Kong and in Asia will likely be live action with special effects. So yeah, I guess I bring a sort of artistic side of things to this discussion rather than the business side.
All right, thanks, Eric.
That's it.
How about you, Jennifer?
5 minutes is enough. Yeah, I know.
Don't worry. We will talk more.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Thym. I'm a writer, director, and producer. I grew up in the US, traveled through Europe, and I'm now based in Hong Kong, even though I'm right now in LA. And I've directed 2 web series. One was a romantic drama called Lumina, and the other was a comedy called Mr. French Taste, which played at HK Webfest, incidentally. And I've also produced a feature film called Jasmine, and also produced a short and directed a short. And the short that I had directed was a short action film with Grace Wong, who's also in Man with the Iron Fists, and was recently cast in the new Josh Holloway and Mark Helberger TV show called Intelligence. And we've had a great run on the festival circuit. And yeah, now I'm sort of looking around for my next new project, which hopefully will be very fun and exciting and extraordinarily time-consuming.
All right, thanks a lot. So, Steinar, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. It's just past lunchtime here, so I'm feeling full and pretty pleased with myself. Yeah, so I'm representing the Melbourne Webfest, which is Australia's first web series festival. It's an international web series festival, and we just the deadline for submissions just passed on Sunday last week. So at the moment we have 6 judges who are going through all the entries and scoring it and trying to agree on an official selection of 30 series. So we're a bit geographically challenged here, I suppose. We're far away from everyone. I guess Hong Kong, in a way, is that too. So we thought, we start small. It's going to be a one-day festival this year with panels and screenings and awards and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're working sort of frantically at the moment to get everything up and running for the 20th, but yeah, it's looking really good. I'm also a series creator. I did the, hang on, unashamed sort of self-promotion in the back there with my series, The Inland Sea, which is a travel documentary series from around Australia. So I'm originally from Norway, so it's a sort of an outsider's perspective, charging through the Australian outback, I suppose, that's narrated in Norwegian. I'm a journalist by trade. I come from a newspaper, news writing background, so this is actually my first sort of venture into digital storytelling. So, yeah, I've got really excited about web series in the process, so I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks a lot. How many submissions did you have for this year?
I think we had about 140, which was, you know, we're very happy with that. Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but I think about 140.
But did you have any sort of surprises, like countries where you wouldn't have expected that someone would submit something?
I think just generally we were really overwhelmed with the international, the number of international entries, I suppose. I mean, we sort of imagined this as being a kind of an awareness campaign for Australian series first of all, but we've got entries from, you know, the US, Canada, of course, you know, I suppose the two main web series and entertainment producing countries, along with France, Italy, the UK, Spain, China, Mexico, Brazil. It's come from everywhere, like all corners of the world. Sweden. Yeah, the list goes on. From the top of my head, that's all I can remember. But I think it's about 50% international submissions and about 50% domestic content, if you like.
All right.
Submissions. So, yeah, hopefully we will find that there's a balance in the quality as well. So we've got about half and half of local and international content.
And what do you have planned? I mean, what you have one award, right? Or two?
Oh, we have a few awards. We have 7 awards in total. So they're all sort of awarded to the best series in the different genres. We have a cultural diversity or a diversity award because I think that's one of the things that web series does that a lot of other entertainment isn't doing, is sort of bringing that diversity of, you know, cultural backgrounds, sexual identity, ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds, all of these sort of things. Like, I think web series is really good at showing all this diversity of, you know, the fabric of social life, if you like. So we want to award someone who's really bringing some of that into to light, if you like. Also, we have one, the big award, the Grand Jury Award, which will be awarded to the overall best series that will be sent, all expenses paid, to LA Webfest next year, and also to the Marseille Webfest next year, all expenses paid to both trips. So I'll have to thank Jean-Michel from Marseille for donating all airfares and that for the Marseille Webfest, and Michael Ajokwe for putting up our grand prize at the Radisson in LA as well.
All right, that sounds good. So Darren, how about your festival? Why is it tagged along with Raindance and not one of the other festivals in Hull?
Well, I mean, Raindance is is Britain's alternative film festival. Typically, Sundance, you know, in England it rains, so we have Raindance. So yeah, as I said, it's been going 21 years. This is the first time we're actually accepting web festivals. We have about 8 slots, so we can sort of commission about 8 hours worth of web series to be shown. Submissions are still open. They're open until July the 15th. We've got a lot of slow to begin with, but I have a terrible feeling on July the 14th, the day before it closes, everybody's going to come in and send then. But it's great. We have got a couple of things that we can't actually announce, but we do have, can't announce yet, but we have sort of, you know, premieres of web series makers' new shows, which we're quite excited about. We also have awards as well, but because this is our first time, I've been to web festivals and seen what works, seen what doesn't work, and so I said this is our first time. So here goes. So with fingers crossed, and it should be a great time. The festival itself is when is it? It's the 28th and the 29th of September. So you know, the end of summer. So you know, if you're thinking of coming over to swinging London, we'll make you very happy and very comfortable.
But that's actually a pretty tricky day because the Rome Webfest has the same date.
Oh, is it? Oh well, you'll have to fight us. It's only it's a train ride.
That's a long train ride.
Phil Collins could do both Live Aids, you know. You can do Rome as well. Oh, Rome's gonna hate us. Sorry, Rome.
So do you already see a lot of response after the announcement of the Raindance festival?
Yeah, we've had a good response so far. We're expecting a lot more things, but we are determined not to. We will watch everything that is submitted. Will of course be watched, and we're looking for quality, but we're also, you know, it really depends what shows are chosen to get through. I'm one of the judges, so we're actually looking for sort of, you know, the quality, and when Steinar talked about diversity and stuff like that, these are also things that we'll be looking at as well.
Okay. Just a quick question. What is the funding status in the UK right now? I mean, are there sort of public funding bodies that support web series?
Are we talking funding for web series or funding for the festival?
Web series. Because I know your funding situation for the festival. That I know, but for
okay. Yeah, I mean, I always love Canada because, you know, they get money from the government. It's like, no, we don't get money from the government in London. Currently in England, it's quite a close-knit community of web series makers. However, we are beginning to sort of expand. We have, you know, I'm actually seeing the people from Blip next week. Hopefully we will be able to expand and continue to sort of thrive, especially in this country with sort of, you know, branded content and marketing opportunities, product placement. That will probably be the way that England will go. Will be sort of, you know, it doesn't mean that something's going to be geo-blocked, but it will be a way of raising money, because right now it's crowdfunding or it's incredibly small productions. My own show, Bloody Mary Show, was actually quite a big budget for a web series, and that was only 10K. You know, we shot it on 7 days. So, as I said, we're going into Series 2 right now, and we're raising money. We're approaching sort of companies first before we go the crowdfunding route. But that's the current financial situation. There's no real support. However, you know, there's a show that's just come out that's sponsored by Domino's Pizza, which is cool. You know, if anybody from Domino's wants to sponsor my show, they can.
But can UK web series creators tap into those European funds, like media or something?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, currently web series in England is getting recognised. The recognition is slow. It's still in this country. It's you know, it's either features or short films is where the money is. There is, however, a great scheme where you can actually sort of claim tax back on film productions. So that would probably be where people are going to begin to start investing, and we need we call them angels, just sort of venture capitalists who will put money in, because currently web series are not financially. It's very difficult to get your money back on when as a show creator.
But when you want to bring in those angels, then you always have to show that you have a certain like revenue stream or return of investment. What do you think could be options for that in the future?
Okay, let's play that by ear, because it's 4 in the morning. My brain's not working.
Just roughly.
Oh my goodness. I actually. Could you repeat the question? I'm terribly sorry. My computer just froze briefly.
No, when you want to bring in angel investors, right? Then you always have to show them that there's a certain return of investment on the investment that they take. So where are revenue streams for UK film web series?
Okay. I'm going to be sort of, brutally honest. They currently, if they exist, they're well hidden. It's the thing about producing shows in this country. You can either have your sponsorship, or your branded content, or it's money that you've raised through crowdfunding. There are no pre-existing revenue streams that I am aware of. However, I could be wrong, and I'm sure somebody is actually going to be watching this in a few hours screaming at the screen saying, no, 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 no. So please sort of check the Raindance Twitter Webfest sort of thing out, because we will probably create a sort of a help and a cheat sheet about where to get these things from.
Okay.
But right now, there is no, for example, there's no government funding. These are people sort of, the biggest, most expensive British web series was one called the Underwater Realm, which was raised through crowdfunding, and that was 6 figures. So that was pretty expensive, and unfortunately, that will not be able to make its money back. However, a very sort of quite simple show, which I can't think of actually sort of naming one at the minute. We may be able to get a return on its money, but in this country, we still have our YouTube superstars. Those are the people who are making money on things like Channel Flip and the Multiverse, which is Warwick Davis as channel on YouTube, which specialises in sci-fi. These are sort of things that the funding is out there for those sort of branded channels.
All right, thanks a lot. Let me jump to Eric. Because Eric, last time we met, you were saying that you're getting involved into web series projects in Southeast Asia. Any chance you can talk about that, or is it still under wraps?
I don't recall doing anything that's specifically web series. We are in talks to do something feature film, but. There was one that was going to happen in the States, but again, the money just wasn't there for a web series.
Okay, but do you find yourself in a position where you are rather drawn to, let's say, pitch certain short content rather than feature films, like transmedia web series? Short film content, does it work better for investors, or are you still in a position where you say, when I'm not pitching a feature film and then take something like a web series along, then it won't even work?
At this point, no, I haven't really had that much contact with that sort of thing. I know it's something that is up and coming. I know that it's there in the background. I've seen a lot of productions going for Kickstarter funds because, of course, if you're doing a web series, your budget doesn't need to be as big as a feature. So it is easy for an independent filmmaker to produce something through crowdfunding. But at this point, I haven't seen any production that are really taken off. I was shortly involved with a production called, and that is the I can't remember exactly how much money they asked for, but they got their goal and then some. I mean, it was one of those Kickstarter success stories. But still, I haven't seen once they reach their goal, I haven't seen them really push forward with their production. We'll know at which point that they're at right now. So I think that may play a little bit with the the people out there and their confidence in funding these sort of films. They've yet to see something really take off and really become successful, and I think it was sort of an interesting thing at the beginning, Space Command, but and a lot of people jumped on board just from everybody sort of the herd mentality, getting excited over it. But at this point, they're sort of in the script stage. They're sort of casting, but nothing has really. We haven't really seen them start filming or anything like that. So I think it's still a little bit early to say whether or not that is a viable way of raising enough money and for a production.
Let's talk a little bit about Battlestar Galactica, because it was a pretty successful TV series.
Yep.
And then just recently they rolled out a sort of web series, when I'm not mistaken. These special episodes.
That's right. It was called Blood and Chrome. Yeah, Blood and Chrome. That was I think it was originally made for as a web series. Then Sci-Fi, who funded it, changed their mind and said, "Oh, let's see if we can make this into a pilot." And but I'm not exactly sure what happened in the interim, and it got held back, and the Sci-Fi couldn't make up their mind whether or not it was going to be a pilot or it was going to go back as a web series, and so it just stayed in storage for several months, maybe a year. I don't know how long. It was a long time. And all the people that worked on it were anxious to get it out. And when it finally did come out, it was a huge success. I mean, for a web series of that quality, and that it almost looked like a TV show or a feature. But it did get a lot of notice. A lot of people saw it. It was a huge success. I think on Machinima, and you could watch it on YouTube. But Sci-Fi still. I don't know if they don't see it as a serious contender, or they I don't know what's happening there. They don't seem to want to jump on it, even though it's got a lot of people excited about it.
Which is a bit strange, because they were also just rolling out their new show Defiance, which was specifically made as a TV series linked into a game, and it was basically called as the first really integrated transmedia project between TV and gaming. So you as an animator, where do you see basically the potential in doing projects like that? In basically having this crossover between a real action series tied into a game. I mean, what are the challenges from your perspective?
It's this whole Defiance thing. I think it still hasn't proven to be a success yet. I look at the show, and the show is okay. It's not a huge success, but the pairing up with video games, I don't think it's really captured the audience's attention. It looks like the game was not as successful. It wasn't a very good pairing. I think that was the problem there. And you're always going to get people that are only watching the show and have nothing to do, have no interest to do the video games. And it seems like it's supposed to be a good match, but I haven't seen it yet. To me, I'm not convinced.
Okay.
And it was a huge gamble too. I think they. Yep. No. Go ahead.
Let me jump to Jennifer. So Jennifer, you did the first ever web series in Hong Kong, from my knowledge.
Okay.
And that's
definitely the first English language one.
No, because I don't think there was anything before Lumina.
Anything before? Oh, okay. It's entirely possible. It was. I mean, you guys were talking about examples earlier of exit strategies, and I think one of the things that I had used as research when I was putting it together was the Guild, which I think is quite a good example for web series. And actually, I think they made that first one themselves, and then the rest of them were crowdfunded before crowdfunding became very in, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, they were sponsored. So they've actually gone through pretty much all the permutations that you can have to get the funding for a series going. And I think they really tapped in on maintaining a fan base and sort of creating endless content for that fan base, which is sort of the big struggle between like a highly produced web series, which I mean Lumina was and Mr. French Taste was, versus sort of more the branded YouTube channels where you've got like one or two people kind of doing everything and doing it once a week. And I think that's one sort of major struggle that a lot of web series have versus, say, feature films or other things that may be the same length, perhaps in overall duration, but a different format.
Okay, but here's my issue question.
Yeah.
You're sitting there in Hong Kong, 2009, and you coming up with the idea of doing a web series, which usually people, I mean, even today, people have no idea what a web series is in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So why doing this? Why?
Well, I didn't go to film school. I didn't do any of the traditional things. So I wanted to go to film school, and I didn't. And I ended up going to other grad schools and working and doing all that good stuff, which I don't regret because it allowed me to travel the world and see lots of things. But when I finally came to Hong Kong, I was like, now's my chance to go and do something. I can go to school now, or I can just try to leap into it and sort of learn as I go. And when I was doing my research, I was reading about the whole film festival circuit process. No offense to our beloved Raindance guy here, but I mean it is quite slow. Like if you think about it, you create something, you shoot it, you go through post-production, you submit it to festivals, and you wait easily probably a couple of years from the inception moment, right, to when it's actually out to the end audience. And I was like, for me as a calling card, because I had absolutely nothing on my resume short of helping produce one short film just by showing up and learning everything from Wikipedia. I wanted something that would be quick, that could be out right away, that could demonstrate what we could do. And I thought it would be fun. It would be a new sort of media, a new way to get to people. And I mostly just relied on, the experience of my friends, music from my friends, sets that we could get, things that we could do fairly easily and quickly, and then we just went out and did it. So.
But your production value was extremely high. I mean, you were shooting the whole series on a red one back then.
Yeah, yeah.
So
before they went 5K and Scarlet.
I mean, I mean, it was not like that you just grabbed a DSLR and just were shooting it with friends. You had professional people, you had a professional crew, professional actors, right?
It was a little before DSLRs became really cheap. I think at that point you had maybe the 5D, like maybe, and it was still kind of expensive, and they had a lot of problems with rolling shutter, and I think some of them still have a problem with rolling shutter. But with that one, we got lucky because the DPs that I met had just bought a red right before we started shooting, and I think I had suggested that a red would be really awesome if they were considering it. So it was, a lot of it was luck, a lot of it was the technology at the time, because reds were really hard to come by. And I'd met the guy who was pushing reds into China, but they had such a backlog from demand. So the DPs had bought it used, which is great because I think red supports actually a lot of the cameras even through further owners. And for me, production value was incredibly important. I knew that I wanted to make something that looked as good as a feature film, but could be just delivered to the audience faster. I think that was my main thing.
Okay. Where did the finance come from for this?
Well, that was self-financed. Self-financed, and I also think a lot of the people who worked as crew and cast, I mean, it is essentially also a donation of their time and effort. And for that, they got to show somebody right away. Like, half the times if you do like a feature film for somebody, you don't get something for your reel for maybe years. And here they got it fairly quickly and in a very accessible place. So anybody who wanted to see their work, whether it's set design or one of the actors, it's right there right away.
But I understand your background, your personal background is in finance, right? Yeah,
my past background, yeah. I worked as a banker before.
Okay. That might help?
Well, it helped in the sense that, I wasn't entirely, I was very naive, try and keep it within budgets. And a lot of the people that I work with have also come into film quite late. So you get quite a good, cross-field experience by doing that.
But Lumina was your first project, or you had something before that?
I produced a short film that was actually shot on 35mm by the same DPs. So literally that was 2 weeks after I decided to go into filmmaking. Somebody was asking for help, and I wrote to them and I said, hey, I know absolutely nothing, but I'm a quick learn.
So now you're basically preparing your first feature, right?
Yes. So I've produced a feature. I haven't directed one yet, and that's sort of my next big thing. I'm also a writer as well, so I spend quite a lot of time sort of writing my own scripts and beating myself up over them.
Okay. So you're basically always jumping between feature film and web series, right?
Yeah, I produced a feature film, and then we went back and we shot a short, and we shot the web series pretty much back to back. I like the short format. I think my main thing really is finding stories that are appropriate to each. And I think because of the way that funding and your exit strategies for short films and for the web series, it's much better if you have sponsorship ahead of time. So for corporations who are looking for an alternative to a traditional commercial or advertisement, it's quite good to have like a branded entertainment web series instead. And also I think it gives them much more of a chance to have real interactions with customers and clients, where you can actually really build up on characters that the audience identifies with, and I think that's very valuable to companies. I think for sort of the more just purely fun and non-commercial projects, for short form, it's easier if it's very, very low budget and very simple to shoot, that kind of thing.
Okay. So here a really, really tricky question. So you wanna shoot Mr. French Taste, and no one knows about the IP, no one knows about the story because you haven't shot it yet. How do you convince people or brands to come on board?
I think it's actually pretty similar to convincing anyone to go on board for a feature film, because you're basically coming in with your story, with your script, your characters, what makes you different, plus the bios of the people who've worked on it. So, if you've had people who've had experience working on other things, you sort of advertise that. You're like, this creative team has created X, Y, Z in the past, and it's done, this in the past, or it's won this many awards, or this kind of thing. And you pitch this like you would pitch anything else. I think if you're a startup and you've got a brand new idea, brand new widget, you'd still have to do the same thing without necessarily having, a fully built out product. You might have a prototype, which in our case are probably like, the script or the demo reels or this kind of thing, or a teaser, sizzler trailer that sometimes people do ahead of time. but a lot of it still relies on your ability to persuade someone that you are the one.
Okay, thanks. So Steinar, you have a really interesting background because you're coming from journalism, and what I understand is that you're basically applying journalism to web series and to interactive projects. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I mean, from my perspective, when I think about web series, I always see those fictional web series, but never actually have seen a real documentary or an interactive web series that ties in journalism.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting because you know, when I shot my series, I went out there and I thought, actually, when I travelled, I always thought that it was going to be made for TV. But when I came back, I wasn't, you know, I wasn't sure I was going to chase up that format or try and, you know, desperately try and bang it into sort of 20-minute components or like a 1 hour, once-off kind of thing. It didn't feel right in terms of the stories that I was trying to tell. So I was just shopping around for a bit, and, you know, I stumbled across web series and thought, hey, what's this? You know, because I hadn't heard much about it either, and this was in 2009. And, you know, all I could find was fiction. And, you know, I could find documentaries that were online, but they were different. You know, they were different kind of experimental forms of storytelling, but there were very little non-fiction content that was made into a web series format, and I think it still is. I mean, at LA Webfest this year, for example, I think there were, you know, 7 or 8% of the series were non-fiction, and then you break it down, like within the non-fiction category, you have, you know, documentaries, travel shows, music shows, reality shows, all of these little niches that are, you know, I suppose based in factual types of storytelling. So, you know, maybe the documentary component within all of that was probably only, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5 series out of 260 or something like that. So I think it's really like an underserved sort of niche, because I can see, obviously I can see how it works really, really well, and it's kind of a natural sort of digital transition, I suppose, from kind of literary style journalism or long form serial kind of journalism, and you know, I've fancied myself a bit of a feature writer, I suppose. So, but I'd never worked with film before, and so I guess I took kind of what I knew about feature writing in terms of structuring a narrative and things like that, and tried to match that up with a visual kind of storytelling that eventuated in the Inland Sea as a 15-part web series, you know. So yeah, I think it's still within sort of journalism circles. There's still some interesting attempts at making serials, but they're all really, really different. Like the New York Times did this 1 in 8 million, which was kind of like a you know, that was photography and audio. So there were sort of audio slideshows just telling everyday stories from everyday people in and around New York, for example, which was really interesting. So there's different kinds of approaches to storytelling, I suppose, within web series in journalism as well, whereas mine is more kind of traditional short episodic videos. But yeah, it's a lot of uncharted territory there still, and I, you know, that's personally what I find really exciting about it too.
I mean, most creators think that documentary is just really easy. You just put a camera there and then you film till it's over, right?
Yeah.
And then probably for a web series, you just have to chop it up into smaller pieces. So from your perspective, how different is the structuring in terms of narrative length, in terms of drama, for a non-fiction documentary, for a non-fiction web series, as opposed to a regular documentary or a 2-hour documentary?
Well, I think it varies a lot, and I think that's what's good. I mean, you don't have those sort of limitations on the storytelling. I think that goes for both fiction and non-fiction and documentaries as well. I mean, there are documentary web series that are, you know, half-hour episodes. Still, when I started, I sort of bounced off that kind of idea that, oh, well, you know, everything goes on YouTube and people have really short attention spans, so I should probably keep my episodes between 3 to 5 minutes because that's all you can sort of expect people to commit to in terms of storytelling. But I think the way that, you know, and this is just a technology sort of driven development, I suppose, more than anything, with, you know, as we've gone from desktops to laptops to tablets, it becomes a lot more flexible, and people can, you know, take your show to bed with them if they're like, you know, and it's a lot easier to sort of sit and watch something for longer periods of time. So I think you just tell the story that needs to be told, and, you know, because it's online, and, well, I think that goes for any kind of storytelling. You want to be as efficient as possible to keep people attached to your product. Yeah, for me, you know, where I started with trying to limit myself to 5 minutes has, over time, as my series progressed, sort of I've walked away from that limitation a bit. I'm still trying to keep it below 10 minutes because I don't see, for me, I don't see the point in pushing it beyond that. But I don't think we need to worry too much about those limitations, and it's more important for me, you know, I built up a particular storytelling structure that I try to stick to within each of my episodes, and then my episodes now vary from, well, 5 to 9 minutes basically, and I don't feel like I have to commit to keeping every episode of 5 minutes or 9 minutes because I'm not filling a time slot anywhere. So there is that flexibility of just telling the story the way you want to tell it, I suppose, which is beneficial as a storyteller.
But do you put in like these sort of cliffhangers at the end, like TV shows do, or is it more like an open ending? I mean, how do you motivate people to watch the next episode? So always going on.
Well, I try to just sort of, I want each of my episodes to be self-sufficient, if you like, so that people can watch one episode in the middle of my series and get something out of it without having to sort of go, hey, what's this all about? Who are these people? And why are they, you know, looking for UFOs or harassing a snake or whatever it is that we were doing, you know, looking at crocodiles. It's sort of, there is a linear narrative throughout the series. So, you know, we travel from Melbourne to Melbourne in southeast to Darwin in the north, and then we follow the west coast around Australia and back to Melbourne. So there is a natural linear narrative there. But for me, it's important that each of my episodes would be able to stand alone as a short doco, if you like, as well. So I'm more kind of, I like the open-ended ending, but I still try to just contain it within the one episode. So where I have an open-ended quote at the end of every episode, that's more sort of like a reflection on the episode, and then I've run with trailers and things like that in between episodes to try and keep people interested, I suppose.
Okay, thanks a lot. I want to circle back a little bit to audience. Eric, I know that you always go to these conventions, and you always have to battle these huge armies of fans, I guess. But then outside of these conventions, you're not that known, right? So you always when you're there, then you're the Battlestar Galactica guy who was doing the Silent God, for example, right? But when people just read your name, they won't associate you with this. So
I sort of lucked out in being attached to. Sorry, how do I deal with it?
Yeah.
No, it's not like I get recognized down the street. It's a very specialized form of celebrity. I just came back last week from 2 conventions in the States, in Kentucky and in Houston, and it's completely baffling. It's kind of a weird. The best I can describe it is surreal, because out in the street, I've never had anybody recognize me. But if I go to the conventions, I've had people come up to me and say, "I love your work. I follow your career. I changed my career because of you." And 364 days of the year, I'm just sitting at home in my own room drawing, and I don't run into that at all. But it is kind of cool. It is kind of for a lot of people who dream of having being famous. Well, I get a little bit of that. I get a taste of that once in a while, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of a bit of an ego boost, I suppose.
But is it when you work on a project that
what was the point of the question?
No, it's fine. It's fine. When you work on a project, are you thinking about your audience a lot? What? Are you thinking about your audience a lot? I mean, are you thinking about
no?
When I'm doing this, can reach more people, or do I make more people interested in that?
No, the only time I was really concerned about it was something with a project that has a legacy, like Battlestar did. I mean, when we were first doing that project, Sci-Fi, the channel that produced it, was very concerned about not doing a show, not doing this show to look like the old show. They wanted to keep it as far apart as possible, but the audience out there, that's what they were expecting. That's what they wanted to see, and we got quite a lot of resistance because people didn't know how the show was going to turn out. They didn't like us changing around the characters. They didn't like us changing around the look. So there was a lot of resistance, and rightly so. I mean, the people are afraid of the unknown, and if you screw up with something that people have grown up with and loved, and and you want to change it, you're going to get hate mail, and you're going to get a lot of people upset. But and rightly so. I mean, there are a lot of times where people wanted to remake things, and it's turned out terrible. It's turned out either concept or their reimagining just didn't have the it wasn't able to capture and change people's minds. So in that case, we were lucky in that the new version did happen to get people involved. It got their interest, and people did. It was long enough that people could change their minds. At the time we were getting people saying that they were going to boycott the show. Yeah.
Okay. When the studio is changing the show and rebooting it or adapting it to something else, are they coming back to you and asking, can we change this, or can we do something new with your help, or are you just being standalone and then you did your job in the first one and then after that you're basically out of the game? So do they ask for approval, or basically do do they try to work with you in order to create the new version, or are they trying to find someone else?
If you're talking about something other than Battlestar, that situation, that was a unique situation. That doesn't happen a lot. Most productions, they don't necessarily need me to change or look at something that's already existed and freshen it up for a new audience. In most of the time, it's generally a new project. It's generally a new idea, and it comes with different challenges. On a show like Battlestar, yes, you've already got pre-existing ideas and pre-existing expectations, but on a new project, you almost have a blank slate. But that can be a double-edged sword. If the director doesn't exactly what he wants, then you have he's just telling you, well, do something, show me something, and that's really difficult for somebody like me who's creative. But we do need some input, because the director or the writer or whoever's heading the production, he's the one that's supposedly got the idea in his head, and he can't put it out there in a visual sense. So he's asking me to give him what he's thinking, and without a clear idea, we're just kind of stabbing in the poking a stick in the dark and not knowing what exactly it is. But I mean, once in a while you will get a director who has a clear idea, who can convey it, who can express it, and in that case it becomes a much simpler process. But by and large, most people, producers that we've run into, don't have a clear idea. They're expecting you to come up with that idea, and it's tough working with a client that just keeps saying, "That's not what I was thinking about. That's not it. Do it again, do it again, do it again." But that's the nature of the job.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot, Darren. You still awake?
Yeah. Indeed, dawn is actually broken in London right now.
Perfect. Okay, then I think we can wrap it here. Otherwise, we're running over. Darren, do you want to plug your film festival again?
Yeah, absolutely. We are still accepting submissions. Submissions are open until July the 15th. It's a £20 submission fee. You can go to raindance.org and find the details there. All shows have to be under 12 minutes. If your show is over 12 minutes, simply send a edited version, and we'll check it out.
But does it run through without a box, or we have to just submit?
Yeah, we can go through without a box. You can also submit directly to us. It's just a case of sort of you can get it out there. Just send us a link. We can check out the show, sort of thing. We're not actually the shows are coming to us right now. Sort of we're not actually going out. And you guys had the same thing where people are more than happy to submit, and we're more than happy to watch.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot. So, Steinar, how about your festival? We can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry. We're in scoring mode at the moment, so we have a jury of 6 who are watching web series 24/7. Really enjoying the both the diversity and the quality of what we've got. Some 30 series that will make up our official selection will be of high quality and across genres and all of that. Festival is on the 20th of July, and we're actually having a little pre-launch at the home of our festival next Saturday. So that should be interesting. So we'll have our home, which is a refurbished studio warehouse. It's a really exciting spot to be in, with TV studios, audio recording studios, conference rooms, stages, and it's a bit of a maze. It's going to be very exciting.
So for a guy like me sitting in Hong Kong, how can I watch or follow your festival?
Just you can find us on Facebook. So Melbourne, just look for Melbourne Webfest, and melbournewebfest.com is our website. We're working on ways to try and we want to webcast the award ceremony.
Okay.
But at the moment we're still working out some structural issues with that and stuff. So whether or not we'll be able to do that, time will tell.
Okay.
But it will all be filmed. We have discussion panels, and we have a range of other things that are going to happen there. So everything will be recorded, and if we can't webcast it live, it will be available on the web shortly after the festival. So just check in with melbournewebfest.com and follow us on Facebook, I suppose.
All right, perfect.
Excellent.
So, Jennifer, what's next for you? What's up next? What's your next project, basically?
Working on a feature film adaptation of our short film Blood Traffic.
All right.
Action film, big screen, hopefully.
But shot in the US or here in Hong Kong?
I'd like to do a mix of both, actually. But it'll depend on, it depends on whether we can convince people that this is actually the right thing. But I think that it would be great, just because, one, there's some great incentives in the United States, and at the same time, Hong Kong is still our home territory, so, we'd like to get a couple of those really gorgeous Hong Kong shots in there.
But how about a new web series?
New web series. I've thought about different kinds, and I have given more thought as to what might be more suitable to it. We are pitching a few things to corporate clients, so that's sort of one thing. But on a personal note, my office mate and I have been talking about doing comedy on our own. So we'll see.
All right, exciting. And Eric, how about you? So you just returned to Canada recently for personal reasons. And you're running your company.
I've got my own little production, and he's due to be born in middle of August, so that'll be my latest. But other than that, the production, the feature, it looks like it will be shooting in about September, and if all goes well, it'll be in Malaysia, I think. For now, it was written for Hong Kong, but Hong Kong, because it's so low budget, I think Hong Kong kind of price themselves out. But it's going to be a horror comedy. It's going to be fun, and it's just the sort of thing that for a guy growing up with horror movies and comic books, this is just right up our alley.
All right, thanks a lot. So I think that concludes our hangout, our international hangout for the Hong Kong Webfest 2013. For everyone who's watching this, make sure to submit your web series to the London Webfest, and have an eye on the Melbourne Webfest, and of course have an eye on us for next year. We hope we can do much more than we did this year. Grow a bit more, have more series. We probably open it up to international submissions, and hopefully have more hangouts like this. So thanks everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for spending your night and your morning and your afternoon. And yeah, see you.
Go back to bed.
Go back to bed.
Thank you, Marco.
Thanks. See you around.
Thanks, Marco.